out, not that. It is to build out our components for this, right? We need to plug it all together, and then we need to actually make this thing work. So let's kind of recap where we're at. Let's jump into stores. We'll tree this out real quick. Right, so we've got our app. Let me grab this thing. Okay, so we've got our app, right, which gets imported into index, right? And then also in index, we have a provider, which has a store, which is pulling from index.js. Index.js has these two things put together as one. Does that make sense? We all follow? Good. All right. So that's the idea. Now, our provider exists here because this is a component, right? And what we want to do is we want to wrap everything, including our app, in that, because that could have stuff later on down the line. Cool? Make sense? Okay. That's where we're at. So let's build out our components, and we'll do these things one by one. Right? We'll jump into components. And really what you need to do is, honestly, you could look at our app file and see what we named them, like votes and status. But what you need to do is you need to think about what your reducers are doing and ultimately what kind of UI pieces you need. So let's talk about that for a second. I'm just going to redraw this because I think this is important. Here is your browser, right? And we want to be able to build a thing that has some people's names, and we can click on them and update vote numbers, right? Then we want to have a thing here that says total, right? Total votes, right? This is a UI component. This is a UI component, which means that we're going to make both of these components, and then that means that this thing should have its own reducer, and this thing should have its own reducer. So when you have a UI component, you should probably have a reducer. Does that make sense? If it's going to update state. Otherwise, if it's just a dummy component that doesn't update state, there's no need to. Like a header doesn't need a reducer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's start with vote counter, and then that will update status, right? So we'll say touch, call it vote counter.js. Bing. Right. Boom. And then let's do the other one too, just while we're thinking about it. And we'll say touch status.js. Boom. Cool. So let's jump into vote counter. Yeah, we can close that because I got this one. So components. We'll go into vote counter. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is import React from React. Right. We need to import connect from React Redux. What does connect do for us? What does it give us? Yes, but I'm looking a little bit more for that. There's two methods that we basically created yesterday. That's what I'm looking for, right? We have map state to props and we have map dispatch to props. We can pass those things into connect. Connect will connect our components with our store, which is our reducers, right? And allow us to fire actions or dispatch actions to hit our reducers to update the state of our application. So again, think about like what you gotta. I gotta draw this again. You gotta think about it like this, right? We've got a component. So we'll say like vote counter, or whatever. We'll just call this votes for now, right? And you click on one of these things. Following so far? Which is going to dispatch an action, which is going to hand it off to the reducer, which is going to hand it to the store, which is going to hand it to your app, which is going to reload. This is important to look at. Which is going to reload this thing, right? Because it's listening to the state. Does that kind of make sense? So the dispatching of our action has to happen in a way that we can connect these pieces together. Connect our React app with our vanilla Redux. Does that make sense? We all following? Okay. Okay, so connects those pieces together. And there's a very clear structure for this. So we'll do, we need to pull in our actions. So we'll say import, and we name them all individually. We called it increment, not decrement. Increment, we brought in disable, and then we created one called reset, right? From, and those things live at, they go into store, so store. What do we call it? Oh, actually, I need to go, I'm in components, I need to go out one. So store, and then candidates.js. Okay, so now we got this, right? And let's talk about that for a second. How come I can do increment, disable, reset as like this destructured object looking thing? Why am I able to do that? So why can I import each individual function like this? I said export with a name, and then I can import those names in using this structure. Does that make sense? So if you think about it here,
How would you build?
Connect is doing that. That's how Connect is doing. It says export const connect with some sort of functionality, and then we can pull it in from the whole React Redux module. Does that make sense? That's how all this works together. Okay. So today we're going to be a little bit more structured so we can CSSify this. We're going to say const votes counter is going to be equal to a function that accepts some props, and then let's return. How do I want to do this today? I'm going to try to make it nice and clean. This should be a table. All right. So everybody's like, what? A table? Let's wrap it in something. We'll give it a section with a class of votes. Oh yeah, good call. And why is that? There you go, JSX, reserve keyword. So everybody said table. Like I seriously, I saw your faces. You're like, why would you ever do that? Because tables have a purpose. They do have a purpose. This is what you're thinking. You're thinking you never make a layout with a table. You're absolutely correct. You would never make a layout with a table. What is a table meant for? This is a very direct and easy question. Not necessarily sorted. Tabular data. So like if you actually want to show, like literally show information in a table format, right? You use a table. Make sense? Like if I was trying to show class offerings for Luminous and have these things with these descriptions, I would totally use a table. But I would never build a layout in a table. That's the lesson from 201 that you should probably kind of refactor in your brain a little bit. Tables are fine as long as you are making tabular data. This is a vote counter, which is going to show a candidate's name, a total number of votes, and if they're disabled or not. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's do. Let's see. So let's see if I can remember this. Table. Okay, so we have a table element. We need to have a table head for this so that we have labels. That should have a table row inside of it. And then we should have table headers. Okay? So inside, what? What? TH and, no, this is for a table header. This is multiple rows inside of our header. So inside of TH, then we should have our names. So candidate, right? I don't need to put like a label like that because it is a table. And then we'll do, total votes. So we'll say votes, not total votes, but votes, because it's for each candidate. And then outside of our table head, we should have a what? Table body, right? Which this thing gets table rows, and then it gets table datas. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's do, so for each table row, we need, I'm sorry?
Yeah, we did use not T body.
Okay, well now you can. So you can do, the basics are TRTD, right? That's a table row, table data. You can have a TH for table head, T body for table body, which is the internal content, T foot, which is for table footer. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. So for each one of these people, we want to have a table row. Does that make sense? Because there needs to be a candidate for each row. So let's make one. We'll say props dot candidates. That's exactly where we're going with this. Is going to take in a person. Thing. Okay. This is going to get interesting looking. Hold on. Let me jump up here. We're going to do a TR first because it's for every single person. Okay. Now check this out. We're going to write some CSS with this. This is going to be cool. Kind of. It's not necessarily inline. We're going to do it like this. We're going to say class name, okay, is equal to person. I want you to think about how we can use this. Person.disabled. Then we're going to say disabled. Otherwise, we want nothing on it. It could just be an empty class. So first off, I want you to think about what that does. Okay? Yes?
Give it a class name, disabled if it's like disabled.
So we can write a CSS line, and we can make it red,
Yeah, red.
or strike through, or whatever we want.
Above 0 and above.
Yep, it's like the polarity, right? It's the same idea. This is a dynamic class. Now that's a huge part of things like React development. So that when you want to, instead of saying like toggle class name active and inactive in some weird jQuery way, you can do it like this. Does that make sense? And you can toggle the style. Yep. Oh yeah, we keep doing disable.
It's okay, it's a class name.
No, props is different. We should say that. Yeah. But we can, with our props, like the other piece of this too is with, yeah, we should do disable. Yeah, it's person. That's what we said is disable, right? Yeah, because that takes in a person. We did say disable, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we can look in a second if we need to. But anyway, let's do. Here you go. I got one. On click, all right. We're gonna set this thing up to do a function. Okay, and we'll say if person.disabled. Okay, then we're going to send this back. Let me think about this for a second. We can send it back in a basic object, right? Because there's nothing to do. We're not going to do anything. Okay. Otherwise, we need to give it increment. We need to increment the person. So props.increment with our person. I want to talk about this in a second. Hold on. And then hold on. Let me look and see what I've got. Yep. And then we need to give it a key, which is going to be unique. So we can say person, right? And then we can close this TR off. So hold on a second. Okay, yeah, this is going to get rad. So there's a couple things I want to talk about with this. Make sure there's a space between that. Okay, hold on, dude. Actually, so here you go. Yep. So on click of this person, okay, if the person is disabled, okay, don't do anything to it. Make sense? Just an empty object. Otherwise, increment the person, okay, and give that person or a key, which is the object. Could be person.name, could be anything like that. Yep. We could pass it index if we want to.
I know, but this is after person, it's an object.
Sure.
Name and person, we can do that.
Sure, you can pass it into any sort of data you want. Key is anything you want. It just needs to be unique data. Does that make sense? Okay, there's another thing we're going to do. Okay, so watch this. You're going to be like, whoa. Okay, so I'm going to jump down. This is where things get kind of interesting looking in React. Hold on, let me make sure there's a space. Okay, so I'm going to jump down, and I'm going to do on double click, which is like very rarely used. What do you think we're going to do on double click? We're going to disable the person. We're going to say props.disable, and then we just need to pass it our person. No, we don't need to pass it true. It will make it true. Yep. So all we're doing here is we're saying on double click, disable the person. On a single click, up their vote count. Does that make sense? Okay. Hold on. We're not going to render anything just yet. Now we got to give each, so this is for every person. Let's think about how this works. So for every person, we're going to have a table row, okay? And that table row is going to have, look at our table head. I'll scroll back down a sec. It's going to have a candidate and it's going to have votes, okay? So candidate and votes. Follow what I'm saying? So candidate name will be, first we create a TR, that's this whole thing. This is the whole thing. Okay, we haven't even created a TD yet. We just created the whole row. Okay, and we're saying class name, so we give it a class name of person not disabled. If that's true, we'll make it disabled. Otherwise, we'll make it nothing. On click, so you click on this row. That's the row, not just the TD, but the row. Then it's going to go ahead and disable that not disable person. It's going to increment the person's vote count. Okay. Otherwise, on a double click of this row, it's going to disable the person. Okay? But that table row has no data in it. So we need a TD, right? And we'll say person dot name. And then the other thing we need here is a vote. Person dot votes. Boom. So now we have a TR with TDs inside of a table body. Does that make sense? However, we need to be able to reset this. Okay, so we'll go under the table and we'll give it a button because we don't want a button inside of a table, right? And we'll say on click. Yep. Boom. On click is going to call props.reset. Now I'm going to stop for a second here. We'll call this reset. Okay. I'm going to stop for a second and talk about where these things are coming from that say like props. So look up here. Start with this. What's up? Wait, where are we at?
Okay.
Here.
And on the
And
that's fine.
is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. You can disable me for this one. What's up? Where you at?
Should we have a T footer for the total votes?
So total votes count. Yeah, actually we should. We should do total votes.
No, we'll do it in status, right?
Actually, yeah, you're right. Sorry. We can do it in we don't need that. We need it in total votes, which is our separate, or our status component, which is our separate component. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, it's separate, yeah.
Okay?
But we will have it like a table footer at the end.
I don't know. We'll figure out what we're going to make there. We could make a box with a div. I mean, I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right? We're just going to make this thing look a little bit better than normal. Okay? All right. So let's talk through this real quick. Okay? I've got a table with a candidate and a votes count. Then I'm looping through all of my candidates, and I'm creating a row for each one of them with their name and their votes. Now here's where I want you to start to think. Props dot increment, right? Props dot disable, okay? Props dot reset. I'm pulling in increment, disable, and reset, which are not bound to props yet. Map state to props. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go below and let's do that. So under this, we're going to do const map state to props. Does that naming convention matter? Yes,
Yes.
because you're passing it through connect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which will take in a state, and that's just going to return an object, which is going to have, we need candidates, and then we need, so that's state.candidates. Not total votes, but we just need votes. And then votes, which is state.votes. Okay, so now we have mapped state to props. Now, hold on. We need to be able to dispatch this function and this function, right? And our reset function and this. So how do we dispatch those things?
Map respect to props.
Const map state to props, or sorry, dispatch. Which, if we do it the old way, right? Actually, let's just do it the new way. You just pass it the things you want. So increment, we have disable, and we have reset. So all this does, right, is it says increment and reset and disable, okay, are going to be equal to an object property that then has a dispatch with increment, a dispatch with disable, a dispatch with reset. Yep.
Why we need to do votes, column state votes? Is it candidates? It's an object with votes and names. It's have already votes.
Wait, say that one more time.
Candidates. It's actually an object of name and votes, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Canada has all that on it.
So
Yeah,
why
but it's
is
not
it
into
pass
your
votes?
votes.
It's an array of not
Hold on, let's look.
candidates.
Okay,
So
that-
each candidate
Yeah.
has.
An array of objects that have.
Okay, slow down. Slow your roll. I want to look through this. Okay, so each candidate has each candidate has a total votes count and it has a name, right? We don't need that.
Which is here as it is.
Yeah, really all we need is candidates. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yep, so you're right. All we need really is candidates here. And we're not even picking up on their vote count. Right? Person.votes, which is representing a candidate which has a total of votes on it. Yep. And we're not using any sort of props for that. So yeah, there's no need. So really all we need is candidates. Does that make sense? Which is coming from here, which then passes in all of that information through here. So all we need is name and votes, which are here. So you're right. We don't need it. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So let's jump down a little bit further. We need to export this component. So export default, right? Which is going to export the whole component. We want to call connect. Connect has two things. It's a curried function. The second thing is what?
It's the component name.
It's the name of the component, which is in this case votes counter, right? And then the first thing is map state to props and map dispatch to props. And yes, the order of that matters. Got it? So this connects state to props, and this connects our dispatchers, which are dispatching increment, disable, and reset when we do this. So think about it. Props.increment is going to dispatch an action, which is going to take in a person. Does that make sense? An increment returns an object with a type and a payload. Payload, and the type is increment. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's refresh, and let's go back another step. So open this up. We are going to go to status. Did I already make that? Yeah. Okay. Same deal. Import React from React. Import connect from React Redux. All right, and then we want to create a component. So const status is equal to props, and then we can pull those in dynamically. Okay, so in here, remember we need to do map state to props. That's an important piece of this so that we can actually access those things. What's up?
Yeah, we need to include the reducers.
No, we don't. Because our reducers have the same name, and they'll affect it in here. We'll talk about that in a second. You'll see how this connects in just a minute. Okay. So we'll say let's create like a leaderboard for this. So we'll say let current leader equal Abu Asil. No. Name. We'll start with, and this is like an initial state almost. No leader. Right, and then we'll give votes as 0, and then we'll update this in a sec. Okay, so let's do let leader. So we're going to look at each person in this equal props.candidates, which again, candidates is pulling directly from props, which is going to allow us to map state to props. Does that make sense? Same deal as before. This time we're going to reduce it down. Now with reducers, or sorry, with a reduce, what are actually? Let me erase that. What is the argument that reduce accepts? Hold on, I want to see a hand.
Callback, that's the,
That's what I'm looking for.
Just for that.
It's a callback function what are the 4 things that the callback takes? And it's the array. It's the same array. So prev current index array, also known as accumulator current index array. Cool? All right. So really all that we need on this is the previous and the current. Okay? So we'll call this, call it winning, and then we'll call it record. Yep.
Actually, can take callback function and initial state. That's the second.
Say it again.
2 parameters.
Oh, that's right. It does have, you're talking about reduce. Yeah. I'm looking for more. My question, that's a good point. My question was more along the lines of like, normally what happens, people say, oh, it takes previous current index and array, and I'm like, no, it doesn't, it takes callback function. But yes, you're right. It's an optional additional argument. Yep. Nice. Pro level. Okay, so we'll let each record, we'll talk through this as I kind of as I build it / when I'm done building it. Let record equal, if our record.votes, because that's representing the votes on each one of these candidates, okay, is greater than the winning.votes, then we need to set that to the record. Otherwise, we need to set that to winning. I'll talk about it in a second. And then we need to return our record, and then we need to pass in an accumulator, which is going to be current leader, which is an object. So, okay. This is the accumulator, which normally you've seen accumulators just set up as like an empty object, probably like that in a 301 environment, right? Or something along those lines. We're saying our accumulator starts with this. Okay, so there is no leader. Then here, this is where we reduce it down. Okay, so let R or record, right? If record.votes, and record represents each individual person, right, or candidate, is greater than winning votes, then give me back the record. Otherwise, give me the winner. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's close that out, and let's build in a basic component structure here. So we need, this is all part of it. We need to put in a return. Notice this too. I think one of the things we haven't done much of yet in terms of our functional components, we haven't written a lot of direct logic in this. This is direct logic in a functional component. All we're doing is not creating like an additional method. We're just writing logic to update things. Does that make sense? Then we can just use it inside of our component structure. So we'll say section, we'll call this a class name of, I don't know, total votes. And given time, we may not CSSify. It just depends on how far we get. Okay, so then inside of that, we need to do, let's do 2 pieces. We'll do a span with current leader. This is always going to show you the current leader, which is leader.name. And again, that updates here. Does that make sense? Okay, so leader.name. Otherwise, not otherwise, I should say, we should also show total votes. So span, we'll say total votes, and that's going to get props.votes.total votes. Okay, and then now we just gotta export map state to props. Do we need a dispatch? No, we're not doing any functions here. All we're doing is just grabbing information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how do you know that total votes is going to be in the votes property?
So that's a great question. So props.votes is coming from where? We're mapping state to props, right? And we have total votes that's coming off of votes, right? So let me ask you your question again. Rephrase your question.
How did you know that total votes is a property of votes?
Okay. So props.votes is going to get mapped state to props. Props is our total vote, or sorry, is our actual, not props, sorry. Votes is our actual object we're getting back. Total votes is going to be the thing that's included on it. So think of this as like the state object, and this is the property in the state object. Does that make sense? So like if you look at, yeah, you can look right here and see what I'm talking about. Like if you look here, total votes is the property. So think of this as votes. Think of this as total votes. Does that make sense? Okay. Like if we had just set this up as an initial 0, then we would just.
Europrops has
Yes, and we're going to set up votes, which has an object on it, which is total
Yes,
votes.
initial state and candidates.
Uh,
Inside the props. Because of the
yes, yes. We're going to have, yes, you're correct. Yes. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Okay, so let's map state to prop. So const map state to props is going to take in state, and it's going to return an object for us, which is going to have, we need votes, right, which is going to be state.votes, and then we need candidates, which is state.candidates. Okay, and then we need to connect these pieces together. So export default, scroll it up a little bit so you can see it. That's going to take in connect, takes in two things. This one is the name of our component, which is status. And then this takes in one thing because we only have one this time. So map state to props. Okay, save it and jump into app. We have votes and status. Bing. Okay. Actually, I think status should live above votes because votes is a table, and this will show. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. That shows like the leader at the top versus the leader below it. And then we're importing style.scss, which we'll see how much time we have because it's 11:45. Let's see if we can get this thing working first. Otherwise, I'll just do some quick styles just to show you. Then we need to import these things in. So we'll import status from, that goes into, this is an app. So that's going to go into components. And that's going to go into, is that what we called it? Status.js. I think we called votes vote counter. So import votes from components. Vote, is it votes or vote? Let's look. Vote counter. Vote counter .js. Okay, and let's just double check our index. Not this one. This one. Great, and let's double check and make sure styles are even working. So I always do this because nobody would ever do this. Oh, no, I don't have a. See. Actually, let's. You know what? Just because I can, we'll do this. Primary color. We'll just call this. Actually, we'll call this background color, not primary color. And then we'll just do background $ background color. All right. So that way we can change that in a minute and not have to modify it. Okay. Okay, so what we should have is an orange background and a working app. Yeah, good luck with that. What's that? Yep, we already added our script for this. So we should be able to say npm run start. We wrote a lot of code. We connected a lot of pieces. Highly doubt that's going to work, but we'll find out. Yes. It is loading up on my page. Don't worry. Great, I knew something would break. Expected an assignment or function called voteCounterJS. Line 17, 13. So let's look. Did I save this file? Where are we at? 17? Ooh, interesting. Person. Oh, it's got to return this. So I'm going to try it like that. Hey. See where I was coming from with this? I was like, oh wait, I bracketed in. You need to return. I didn't want to make this go over any further like that, because then it looks a little weird, right? So I just decided to go with that one. All right. Don't necessarily think this is going to work, but we'll find out. So, oh, total votes is working. Try. Oh, I double clicked it. That's why it broke. It's cool. So we should actually have like a a way to undouble click it. You should have like an
Why?
X or something to reset.
Because otherwise you cannot go back to the.
Ah, okay.
What's wrong?
You know what? Oh, that's so interesting because if you do this, if you don't wait long enough, it considers it a double click. Like if I do that, boom, like it locks it. That's pretty interesting to look at. I never use double clicks on anything. Truly, I'm always like a click. Right.
Can you use a button?
Say it again.
You can use a button.
Sure. Yeah, you could just do a button to say like re-enable, right? And that'll just re-enable it, and that'll just remove the double click functionality basically, and allow you to keep going. So let's do some basic CSS styles.
Ryan, can you show us the tools?
Oh yeah, absolutely. DevTools. Yep. Okay. So open this up. We ooh, what does that say? Oh, encounter two children with the same key. Ah.
It's the key because it's an object.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you. Yeah, that's right. It saves it. I see why. It tries to assign it as a string, which makes it object. This is like when you save something to local storage, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever dealt with this in local storage, but you have to stringify an object to put it in local storage. If we stringified it, then it would be a little bit different. Does that make sense? So we could say like JSON.stringify and then add it that way. Or just pass an index. I mean, that's the easiest way. You just put an extra comma, IDX, pass it as an index. Does that make sense? Okay, I know you can do an object. It just, this is not a stringified version of that. Okay, all right, so hold on. We're going to go to Redux. Boom. Okay, let's refresh. Great, we'll start here. So we'll add boom, right? So watch what happens. So I'm going to click each one of these.
Can you click far away from this item?
What's that?
Just click far away from this.
Nothing. Because it's not in the table.
Just to check the default keys. I want to test the default.
We don't have anything to do default. I don't need anything for default. What do you mean I need?
Do a GS6 for default, actually.
What? Why?
It will not work.
I didn't write anything for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Wait, are you asking me to build something for default?
No, just this how we can trigger the default thing and switch case.
If you call default, like, you have to call it. You have to say, run this default case. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just hope that if you click on an icon, it will call default. You have to make it do it. All right, so go here. We'll do another one here. We'll do another one here. All right, let's disable Rashid. All right, so disabled. So, okay, so if you look here, the first thing to look at is that these things are telling you what was fired in terms of your action, right? We can click into the action. We can see where the things changed and what they changed to. So increment went up 1, votes went up 1, right? This is where it was. This is where it's at. Total votes also got incremented. You can look at the action itself, right, which shows you the type and the payload, right? You can look at state, which shows you candidates and things. So here's the question I had earlier.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So we reset. Yep, see? It just resets. Notice how reset still shows my state? Oh, it does. Hold on. So hold on. Yeah, there it is. See? Still shows you what you want. So hold on a second. So this is your time travel. Yeah, what it doesn't do. So what I was hoping it would do is show you the full object tree. All it does is just show you what reset does, which shows you this. But this whole time travel capability is still there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm confused because this state is fixed. So whatever you're doing here about the state, once you click on that set, it will be.
It starts back from zero. It starts back from 0. Then you're going to start adding it back to 0.
That's what I mean.
So okay, I think I see what you're saying. So like here, it's going to put it back at 1 because it resets the values.
Yeah.
But if you're like, what I want to make sure that you understand is that this is Redux, right? Think of each one of these actions, right, as part of the state now. They're still there.
Yeah, make it.
Does that make sense? It makes a copy of it. What I think you're confused on is that reset, sure, it zeroes everything out because that's what our initial state is. And then we start adding to those zeros again. Does that make sense? But it does not wipe all this. All this is still here. If I want to go back to this time frame, I can't. Does that make sense? That's where I think, is that what you were trying to point out earlier? Right? Yeah, they were like clashing over this. I was like, I got this. Yeah, no. Okay, so to be clear, like if you update something, we make this, 8 and 5 and 4 and 10, and we click reset, all that reset does is it takes those values and it resets them back to what we initially told it to be, which is our initial state. But the time travel capability, what it does not do is reset the state tree. The state tree is still being built upon. It's just another level in the state tree. And if you wanted to reverse back, you could.
Yeah, I think it's something like a history. Maybe.
It's a history. It's a stack. That's exactly what it is.
But confused because this stack, the state, it's called fixed, just to be changeable during the loading or running or whatever.
You get it? You make sense. Make sense of it now? Okay. All right. So let's do this. We should do some quick CSS. So let's see what time it is. It's 11:54. We'll do 10 minutes of CSS. Cool, because we're done. Cool. All right. Let's see if we can just. I don't know where I'm gonna go with this. So let's do something. Yeah, let's do disable. So let's start with this. Let's do some basic colors because you should see these. I'm not gonna like modularize it, but I'm at least gonna write some CSS. So we'll say error. We're gonna make that red. All right. We'll say disable. Is that what I called it? Disable.
Disabled.
Yeah, disable.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the class name was disabled.
The class name was disabled.
Yeah.
We'll make that error so that they are the same thing. Does that make sense? Right. Same color. Error and disable are the same deal. We'll do primary color. I don't know. Let me think of one. We'll do no. And then we're going to do secondary color because I'm trying to do a table. Somebody like the actually E3 E3 or sorry. It's a gray color like that. Okay. Hold on. Let's do black, which is not #00. We're gonna make it that one. Does that make sense? That's part of the reason why these variables are great. You don't just type the word black and 000. You can give a shade of it. Does that make sense? Okay. And then we'll do body does not have a background color. It does have. Actually, let's do this. We don't have a reset in this, so let's reset this thing. We're gonna say margin 0, padding 0, font size 16 pixels. That's what your reset does. All right, and then your body. Don't need anything there because I'm not going to do anything on the body. We need to pick up our table. So we'll do table. We're going to give it a border of solid 1 pixel black. Okay. We're going to pick up on any sort of table headers. And we are going to make those a background of secondary color. Actually, let's do primary color. Primary color. We're going to do a TH in that with a color, because it's going to be hard to see, of white. We didn't do white yet, so let's jump up here and do white. Secondary color is, yeah, we could actually, you know what, you're right. Secondary colors. Nice. Let's just do that. Let's just make it secondary color. And I'm going to make that a little bit darker too. Hold on. The primary color. So secondary color. And then our primary color, we'll make that 333. So it's a little bit darker. Okay. Let's just see what we get real quick. Hey, cool. We're getting there. And then we want to do padding 0. I'm going to do padding 0. See if that fixes anything. Let's hold on. We got to look at it. Let's look at it. All right. So we've got what do we have on this thing that's making it do something here? So TR, it's on the T head. So T head has border spacing, which is causing this. So I think so. Yeah. So if we say border spacing 0, that's not it. It is on the border collapse, maybe. Let's look. Hold on. What is causing this thing? Border collapse. None. What does border collapse say? Separate. Initial. Something is causing this. Hold on. There's a space. I hate tables. Here, I'm just gonna make this a lot easier. Check this out. Boom. We're gonna make this look way better. We're gonna do 20 or 10 pixels. I'm just gonna make this super quick. 10 pixels. I'm gonna get rid of that background color so it doesn't look funky. Boom. We'll just make the color that. Let's do a font family here real quick. What is the most hipster font of all time? That's a good answer. It's Helvetica. Okay, so boom, great. And then I just need to change the color of that, and then we'll make a width on this table. So we'll say table width of, I don't know, we'll say 50% of the page. Great, makes it look a little bit better. These headers are off. They need to have some sort of alignment. So they should have, what is up with that? Oh, that's the padding. So padding, we'll say it's text align, I think it's left. Yeah, it'll be left. So text align left. Let's change the color on that because the color looks bad. So color, we'll do, let's make it, just because why not? We'll do, watch this, red divided by 2. And then we'll do text align left. Oh, what does this say? Oh, it's error. Right, it's not red. Cool, look at that. Nice, so it's like some cool looking red. Great. We should do this. Oh, I got it. Hold on, check this out. So on a table row, or a table header, not table header, sorry. So table, so now we have table row. Check this out. Table row, we'll do background, this is going to be interesting, green. This is not going to look great, but it'll be cool. Hold on, that's not what I want yet. I want to do this. And I want to do it on a hover, or not, ampersand hover, sorry. Ampersand hover, boom. And then we'll do color is white. We'll do, what do they call it, secondary color? So now we get this fun looking thing. All right, that's as far as we're going to CSS this thing for today. But my point being, what I wanted to show you is not necessarily let's make this thing look pretty. It's more along the lines of like we haven't done much with Sass. So notice the inherit like nesting of things. Look, if we want to make this thing look pretty, we can. What's easier to use than this, straight up, would just be like some divs, right? And make, or not divs, maybe sections with some divs in it. Something like that, because I think it'll be easier to style. One of the things I've noticed with tables, even though you should be using a table to show tabular data, one of the problems with tables is they have these weird things like border collapse, border spacing, table collapse. Like those are weird things. Does that make sense? When you work with a block level element, you say padding, you say border, you say size, or not size, but font size, those kind of things, you can change it. Cool? Okay, I'll keep these ugly styles if you want them.
This ugly style.
Oh, let's do disabled. Let's do disabled. Let's make disabled real quick. Last thing, hold on. Disabled was on a table row, right?
It's in the body.
Yeah, so watch this. And we'll say a class, this is a good use of this. And a class of disabled. Then what we'll do is we'll say background is now error. and we'll do is it line through? I don't think you can do that on a table row. You can do that on a piece of. Hold on, everybody's like line through. Yeah, cool. Yes, you can do a line through. I don't think you can do it on a whole row though. That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense? You have to do it on a specific piece of text in a row. So disable background, and then we'll do color. We'll do secondary color again, so we can see it. This is an awful looking table, but whatever. So we're like, I want to vote for Trump. Great. I want to vote for Rashid. Great. I want to vote for, you know what? I don't like him anymore. Now he's disabled. It's cool, right? Fancy. Let's do one more thing. Let's do this just so we can add something nice here. We'll do on the body. I'll clean it up just a little bit more. On the body, I'll do a margin of I'm gonna do like 20 pixels just so I can like pull it over a little bit. On this border, on this table, so let's do table. We'll do solid 2 pixel, 3 pixel black. Right. Clean it up just a little bit more, and then the button. Let's do the button, and then we'll do button. Actually lives in the body just to show you. You shouldn't do it here, but do a button. We'll make the button look great automatically. Margin top. 20 pixel, actually not that far, 10 pixels. We want a background of, did I do a black?
Why you hate
Color, we're going to do secondary color. We're going to do padding. We'll do top and the bottom. We're going to give it 8 pixels on the left and the right. Actually, sorry, we'll do 4 pixels and 8 pixels. Do font size, I don't know, 20 pixels. Border none, border radius, we'll do 3 pixels. Just make it look a little bit better. Hey, great, a little bit better button. All right, cool. So reset. This is such a dumb table. Okay, that's what we have. Great. Okay, cool. Any questions? Okay. Enjoy your lunch. 1 o'clock. I'm starting mock